Okay, good morning. I was going to continue my talk about my faith, but I've been doing some thinking and I'm really feeling like I need to change the topic for a little bit. And I was actually going to do a fun topic. I have an idea for something fun, but I'm really feeling the need to talk about what happened to me in my childhood. There's a couple of people in my life, some personally close, some not, but I know they're struggling with their childhood and things that have happened to them, and in one particular case, things that may have happened and hasn't been uncovered yet, but it's just something that I guess I'm feeling a pull for. Like, I need to talk about that. So that's what I'm going to do. So today's topic is going to be on child abuse and child neglect, child molestation. If any of these are triggers for you, or if you don't think you can handle them, then I would suggest you don't watch this little video. Okay, so I'm 65. I am the oldest of 8. All 8 of us are still alive. We are very disjointed brothers and sisters. Minimal interaction between us. It's, for the most part, I would say we've never recovered from what was done. And some of us went through more than others. And, you know, as you grow and you learn that childhood trauma affects each of us differently. You know, I mean, your parent could call you a name, and for some, that's nothing. They'll just brush that off. And then there's others, you know, they'll have lifelong trauma over it. So I've learned to appreciate that my journey is different than my siblings' journey, and what may have happened to me. I know it didn't happen to all of them, but it doesn't matter. You know, mine is no worse than theirs, and theirs is no less than mine. And so I have to appreciate and understand where they're at and why they are the way they are and the struggles that they've had. So anyway, I've mentioned this before, but my mom married my dad, and we consider that our father because our birth father was out of the picture. None of us remember him in our life. So when I refer to my father, it's my stepfather. Okay, so in our home, both of our parents were alcoholics. They were big alcoholics. They were very sexually inappropriate. I believe that they were swingers and did things, you know, I never saw it, but I saw things. And they just lived a really inappropriate, icky life. My dad was horrible as far as beating us, beat us all the time. He did the stuff that I went through. The sexual trauma to me is like at the bottom of the list. The things that I struggle with today, even today as a 65-year-old woman, are memories of some of the things in the way that we grew up. Like, for instance, there were 8 of us kids and 2 parents in our home, and we had 1 bathroom. My dad was, he was a very cruel man, and anything that he could do to belittle us or harm us he would laugh at what he would do. So I don't know what he got out of that. But like, I'll give you some examples. And like I said, if this is too much or if it triggers you, I would suggest you don't watch this video. Like 8 of us kids had to take a bath in the same water. So the only one who got clean was the first one in. You're not going to, it was gross. We shared that one bathroom. The females, me and my sisters, I don't know about my sisters. I know me, we weren't given, most of the time, we weren't given, the right sanitary products. When we got older and started getting our period, we had to use newspapers. So that gives you an idea of how bad we had to smell. Between not getting appropriate bathing and then using newspapers for our pads, it's just gross. My sister, I know, used to turn her underwear inside out so that she would have clean underwear. Our bedding was disgusting. Like, I just remember sheets on my bed, and I remember gray sheets. So I don't think they were ever clean. I didn't have like a bedspread. I had like a pillow with no case. This was how we lived, and we were teased and bullied at school, and I know why. I mean, we were dirty, we stunk, we were weird, we were different. Most birthdays went unrecognized. It was always, we don't have the money for a party or a present. Well, as a kid, you don't understand, but as an adult, I understand why they didn't have the money when you're spending it all on alcohol. So, birthdays went unrecognized. Christmas, I remember at Christmas time, this didn't happen all the time, but it left an impact on me. My dad, one Christmas, we all got up, eager to open our gifts, and my dad wouldn't let us open our gifts until we drank. It had to be about an 8-ounce glass of warm water and brandy, J. Bavay brandy. We had to drink that, and it was filled to the top, and we had to drink that before we could open our gifts. Well, being kids, you drink it because you want your presents. Well, by the time you drank it, we were all vomiting and sick, and, who wanted to open the gifts. I don't remember anything after that. I just remember drinking that. And to this day, when I see J. Bavay, I cringe. The only products in the house that he allowed for cleaning was white Lifebuoy soap. I don't know if any of you remember that. I don't even know if they make it anymore, but that's what we had to wash our hair with. That's what we washed our bodies with. There was no choice of anything else. Occasionally, like I said, my mom would get sanitary products, but it wasn't like on the regular. Meals were sporadic and usually not enough, so we would fight over, if there was 8 pork chops and there's 8 kids, it just was, my childhood was icky. My parents were icky. I remember waking up as a young girl many, many, many times, and my parents had passed out on the living room floor from drinking, and whatever activity they did, which I'm going to assume was a sexual activity, they would be naked. And so before my brothers and sisters would get up, I would somehow pull. I don't remember if I had my brothers help me or if I did it on my own, but I would get my parents back into their bedroom so that the younger siblings didn't see this. My dad worked at a really great place at that time. It was considered one of the top employers in Racine, Wisconsin. He made good money. We owned a home. We lived in the upper part of the 2-family. I think we had 3 bedrooms, and some of us were in an attic. That's where I was. The things that, like I said, are traumatic for me, or are still not traumatic because I'm past it, cause me more trauma to this day would be those types of things, not the sexual abuse, and I don't know why. I was sexually abused from the age of 9 to about 10 and a half. I didn't know what was happening to me because I didn't know what that word was. And I just remember over a period of time, my mom coming to me and was asking me questions, and I didn't know how to answer her questions. So I took her to a dresser drawer that my dad had where he kept these X-rated cards, and I showed her these cards, and then she asked me, "Is this what Dad's been doing to you?" And I said yes. And of course she broke down, she hugged me, told me she was sorry and all that. And then I was removed from the house. Not my dad, me. So he remained in the house with 7 other kids. I spent the summer at my grandma's, and I did a lot of healing there, and made a police report. I remember back then the police, as they were taking my report, were laughing at some of the stuff that I told them that had happened. It was a totally different world back then. Parents weren't removed from the home. Things weren't investigated. Nothing was done. After that summer, I believe I was returned home, and I was probably, 10 and a half at that time. And nothing happened after that. But I remember things like when my mom would leave, I would hide. I remember hiding in a laundry basket with dirty clothes over me because I didn't want my dad to find me. Of course, he always found me because every time my mom left, he would come after me, and I would get sad because I wanted to play with my Barbies. I was playing with my brothers and sisters. And other things I remember, I'm trying to think here. I really have blocked a lot of it out. I don't know. It's just odd times. But anyway, that lasted about a year and a half. I didn't know what was happening to me. I knew I didn't like it. I knew things were wrong. By the time it ended and I went to my grandma's, I came back. I knew then that what was going on was not right. But I kind of think somehow I felt like I had done something wrong because I was the one removed from my brothers and sisters. So anyway, life goes on. I know what I was going to say. One of the things that stuck with me to this day that is still weird for me because sometimes I will get these sensations is at night I will feel like someone is grabbing my feet. And so I always sleep with my feet tucked under the covers. I am getting a little better where sometimes I can go without, but I tucked my feet under the covers because I remember as a young girl, that's how my dad would approach me when I was sleeping. He would mess with my feet. And I also think today, at the age of 65, I struggle with insomnia because I was always woken in the middle of the night. And in fact, I think looking back, that's how my mom suspected something, because one night she must have woke up and he wasn't in bed, and she came looking for him, and he was up in our attic bothering me. So anyway, I then got older, and you take your sex class in school and all that. And I learned about, how a woman's body works, getting pregnant, all this stuff. And my dad, from here, time after time, he would approach me. And at that time, I knew enough to say, get away from me, or I would scream, or I would go get mom, or whatever. So nothing ever occurred after that year and a half. But as I got closer to the age of 15, there was a breaking point. We had a shower in our basement, and I was taking a shower one day, and I opened up the shower curtain, and he was standing there with this weird smirk on his face. And he said, let's kiss and make up, let bygones be bygones. And I looked at him and I said, you're not touching me. And I put the towel over me, and I don't remember how it ended. I just remember nothing happened. And that was the day that I knew that I had to get out of that house. I had to run away, because by then I understood that I could get pregnant, and there was no way that I'm getting pregnant by my dad. And the whole thought of what he was trying to do was disgusting to me, because at 15, I started having an eye for boyfriends, and I was developing really well. And I just knew that all of that was inappropriate and sick. So I ended up, one night, I ran away. I don't remember what caused me to do it, but it was shortly after that incident of the shower. And I ran away, and I ran to the police station, and I told them that my dad was bothering me and that I didn't want to go back home, and I wouldn't go back home. I ended up being placed in detention. And at that time, the detention in Racine was pretty rough. It was basically like jail. It was at the top of the Racine County Jail, way up. And I was in this room with just a little tiny window, and I was locked in. I was by myself. The bed was like a jail cot. I was fed through this little door that would open up. I mean, it was bizarre. You look back, like I was the victim, and I was in this room in the jail. I couldn't go out of the room. They would let us out. I think they had they called them social nights or something. They would give us Jell-O and stuff like that, and we would get out. But it was just weird. It was weird. So, but none of that stuff broke my spirit. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I mean, that ties into my faith, because I was always aware that this wasn't supposed to happen, and things would get better, and someone was watching over me. So anyway, long story short, I was in detention for a while. My parents came up to visit me a couple times. I was mean to them. I was rude to them. I didn't want to visit them. I told the staff and my parents to go, that I didn't want to go back home. I had no desire to ever return to that house. And shortly after that, we landed in court, and I still remember the judge name, Judge John Algrim. We were all seated around a big table talking about me going back home. And I remember the judge looked at me, and whatever he asked me, I don't remember, but I remember saying to him, if you return me to my home, I will be back here. I will run away again. If you put me in a foster care home where I'm safe, you'll never see me again. And this is coming from a 15-year-old. And I don't know why to this day, because I never talked to that judge, but I was granted to go into a foster home. And so that started my journey of healing, was going into, I had a temporary foster home for I think 90 days or so. Then I went into one until I aged out at the age of 18. Both my foster homes, the first one I think was better than the second one, even though the second one is where I aged out. The first one was a single woman, and she was like a receiving home, so she just took kids for short times. And she was an older woman, she was a widow, and she just was a really kind, loving, gentle. It was a great place for me to land after what happened to me. And I did a lot of healing there. And then I went into the permanent home. And that, while that was a good, safe home, there were some things that I think, no home's going to be perfect. Everything was better than where I was. But there were things I didn't handle too well. And I ended up, on my 18th birthday, I ended up leaving there on my 18th birthday and rented an apartment while I was still in high school and finished off my high school. So I guess this is a lot, isn't it? And I haven't even covered most of it. So I'm going to take a break and add the next piece for another time. And we'll cover like what happened when I left the foster care system, and then how I've been throughout my life, how I did not remain a victim. After being a victim, I made the choice. I think the thing that helped me a lot was, I'll talk about that later, but I always had the attitude that what my mom and dad, I guess maybe I'm a little bit defiant, what my mom and dad did to me, they weren't going to continue doing that to me. Even though I was out of the house and they couldn't touch me or talk to me, my attitude was, what you did to me is now done. I'm going to fix myself the best I can, but I'm not going to let what happened to me keep me down. I want to grow and I want to move forward, and I don't want to remain in a victim situation. And I didn't. Not to say that I don't have my struggles, because at 65, I sure do have my struggles. But I think the biggest thing I'll end this with is, you have got to have that mindset that you were a victim. You were robbed of something in your childhood. It doesn't matter to me if you wanted it, if you instigated it, whatever. When you're a child, your mind is still developing, your body is still developing. That's when these vultures prey upon you, because they can manipulate you. They can do all kinds of things to you other than what they're inappropriate touching. They can play with our brains. And so that's what my dad did. My dad did a lot of stuff to us that affected our forming years. And to me, that's more damaging than the inappropriate touching. It's what they've done to our brains and the things that they've said to us. So if I can leave, I'll end this on that note, that somehow you have got to dig deep within yourself and find that place or a way where you are no longer their victim. You want more for your life. You deserve more. You were preyed upon. You were vultured upon. Somebody took advantage of you in more than just your physical way. And to me, that's the easiest thing to heal. The hardest thing to heal, like I said, is what was done to our minds while we were forming as young adults. So I will leave you on that note, and then I will continue this in another time. If you have any questions, or if you would like to share with me, or have me give you some thoughts on other things, please leave them in the comments. Also, please subscribe and come back and visit me. And I hope you have a great day.